Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode 2 of the Crazyherorise Show. I am, of course, the star of the show. I am ready and willing to tell you about. This week, I wanted to do something different. And I wanted to do childhood memories and gaming memories. So, I'm going to talk about growing up in the era that I grew up, which is a completely different era from today. So, I grew up in the late 80s and the 90s. And of course the 2000s, but I was a teenager then, and we're not really going to talk. We're going to cut off at about 2002, a year before I graduated high school. So, I was born in 1985, so of course 85, you got that whole stretch of stuff that I can really talk about. So, let's start with when I grew up, there was TV aplenty. I grew up in an era where USA Network was just really starting to gain steam when it came to wrestling, cartoons, programs, everything. And then you have, of course, followed by that, you have the Fox Kids, started up in the 90s. You had CBS, you had ABC, you had NBC. There wasn't a Cartoon Network yet. There wasn't a Disney Channel yet. But things were on the rise. Things were on the rise a lot. So, literally, as I grew up, I watched a lot of cartoons. A lot of TV shows. There's some TV shows I enjoyed and some I didn't. But what I did was I truly absorbed everything that there was to absorb in everything, whether it was the Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Transformers, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, everything. Now, I remember growing up, and what used to happen was you could literally all weekend you could watch cartoons. And all week you could watch cartoons. So I remember, some of them I'm going to go into detail, some of them not. I remember Ninja Turtles was huge when I was a kid. When I was first growing up, my two favorite shows that hit me first were, of course, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody that's my age, I'm 33, we remember going and we had buckets of Ninja Turtles toys, and we had comforters, and we had all this stuff. My dad actually made me Ninja Turtle jeans because he was really good at sewing and stuff like that. My mom worked at Target, so my mom would get me stuff from work, whether it was wrestling figures or whatever. So that, and it was Thundercats. Still a huge Thundercats fan. Amazing Thundercat. I love Thundercats so much. And growing up, I truly remember watching that all the time. Remember watching G.I. Joe. I don't remember watching the original Transformers as much. But I remember once it hit the 90s, I was all over Fox Kids. I remember when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuted. It was huge for people my age. I think it was like first or second grade, and dropped like a bomb. The original Power Rangers. Now I know it had been going on in Japan. I found that out years later. But to me, that was like, boom. But then I also remember all the rip-off shows that they had. VR Troopers was ones that was not very long, but I used to watch it. And then you also had like Beetleborgs, which was another popular show. Another thing I noticed in the 90s was superhero cartoon resurgence. So what would happen is Fox had X-Men and Spider-Man. WB, which is now the CW, had Batman and the Adventures of Superman. And there wasn't Justice League yet. You had, I'm trying to remember which channel it had, but there was a channel that had Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Hulk cartoons. So you had all those going on at one time. And I used to watch the crap out of those. The ones that were my favorite, though, was X-Men the Animated Series, Spider-Man, and Batman. And what happened was, if you missed the episodes that happened on the weekends, they would replay them during the week along with other reruns. So I would constantly be watching them, which is good to have because they were really good shows, and especially X-Men. That's where I learned a lot about X-Men. So that's why I'm not really an Avengers fan, but I'm more of an X-Men fan because when I was a kid, there was no Avengers cartoon. Also, when I was a kid, there was a plethora of video game cartoon TV shows. You had Zelda, there was the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, there was the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, there was a Kirby cartoon, there was Mario Brothers 3, and then there's a Mario in the Super Mario World. But what most people don't know is there's actually a Mortal Kombat the Animated Series, and that was on USA on Saturdays at like 12, and it was followed up by Street Fighter. Now what was different was Street Fighter actually, the show was actually like two teams and doing a mission, so it reminded me a lot of G.I. Joe. So that was an interesting show, I would say. And then I remember 1996 is when I really got into Beast Wars. It was the first Transformers show I actually got like into and cemented like how much I loved Transformers. And that was Beast Wars. And the difference between Beast Wars and all other cartoons at that time is Transformers Beast Wars was actually on at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I literally had enough time to sit down, watch a show, and then I had 5 minutes to get to the bus stop to catch the bus for school. And I watched it all the way, every day, because it was actually on Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock. And it was a really good show. They altered, instead of turning into cars or whatever, they were animals that turned into robots. Slight difference. And some other shows I grew up watching. Dragon Ball Z I got really into in the 7th and 8th grade. I had no idea what it was and didn't really know what anime was at the time. So I got really into that. But let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some gaming memories I have growing up. Now on this channel I haven't talked about my first Nintendo experiences, going to a next door neighbor's house. I'm not really going to talk about that. Let's start with Gauntlet. Gauntlet started my love for the action RPG franchise. Action RPGs are going to be like your Titan Quest, Wolves of Midgard, Diablo, Path of Exile, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in my thoughts on Path of Exile or Diablo 3 or Wolves of Midgard, I have videos on this channel that you can look at. But what I used to do, because I actually did not have friends growing up, and not much has changed as an adult. I got a small core group of friends, and I still like being by myself. But this is my outlet. I like talking to all of you guys. So what I used to do is every level would have a password on the NES. So I had a Tengen version of it, and I would play it, and I had this spiral notebook, and I would write down all the passwords. And I got really far into the game. I don't know how many levels it is to beat the game, but literally, I got pretty far in the game, had a lot of fun with that, and through the years, I've continued to play action RPGs. I will try out almost any action RPG. A lot of them are disappointments, but any gaming style can be a disappointment when you're playing them. But it's just two of my cherished memories I have playing video games actually happened within the last, say, 15 years. Because I've been playing video games since 87. It is now 2018. That's a long time. So one of them happened when I was in high school, and I had no idea what Diablo was at the time. And my friend Michael said, "Hey, do you want to come and check out this game? So what I did is I went over to his house. It was a Friday. And we sat down. He had a computer up there, and he had two computers, so we checked it out, and we played. God, it got to be like 36 hours we played Diablo 2. And not even online. So I started from the beginning of the campaign and made it to chapter 3. And I loved it. I fell in love with Diablo 2. It's still in my top 5 all-time favorite video games ever made. It's a great game, and it really, really helped me with what I loved about video games. And from there, another one is my fiance that I'm with right now. Her name's CJ, and she is like one of the biggest Diablo 3 fans I fucking know out of anything. And what happened was, when we first got together, she had like this really bad experience where an ex of hers, she was playing the starter, because when Diablo 3 came out, there's a starter that you could play where you could play level 1 to 10, when you leveled up to level 10, you couldn't play it anymore. And he would criticize her for calling the things the wrong name. I don't even call all the monsters what they are. It's a fucking demon. It's a monster. It's a little imp dude. And me and her sat and played couch co-op. Went through the whole thing. Took us 2 days. So we would stay up all night, went to sleep, got up, and continued playing. And this is like when we first got together. So this is like within the first 2 months of us being together, we just barreled through the game. And when we were done, we did it again. And we've done it several times over the years. We've played Diablo 3, we've created new characters and everything. It's kind of our thing, and it's something that she loves this game, and it's now like, I think it's her all-time favorite video game now. So, from there, there's another story I want to tell. This is from 1995. So, I had an NES top loader at the time, and I had to be like in the 5th grade, and I really wanted to beat Mario 3, because at the time, I had a good amount of games, because at that time you can go to a pawn shop and get them for $1 a piece or $5 a piece, and you can get a lot of NES games. So I had like 60, 70 NES games. Kind of like that on that shelf right there. I had a good amount like that. But I wanted to beat Mario 3 because Mario 3 was like my game at that time. I loved Mario 3. So what happened was, I played it, and I wanted to beat it. So what happened was, I was playing the game, and I left my NES on overnight, because back then, no memory cards, no save files, there was no passwords for Mario games. So I left it on overnight, and then when I got home the next day, I beat the game, but my NES overheated. Now, what happened was, my older sister didn't really play her NES. Like, barely she ever played it. So what I did is I unhooked mine, switched the NESs so I could keep playing games. Because I really loved playing games, and my sisters were like those casual gamers that play a little bit of Mario, a little bit of Tetris, a little bit of Dr. Mario. And another memory I want to throw at you is, so growing up before we had the NES, we had an Atari 2600. And I would watch my mom play. So how I actually when I was a kid, I had motor and growth skill problems. So I had trouble picking things up with my hands. So what would happen is my mom would show me how to play video games with the 2600. So I would play the Atari. And there was this game that I loved. I have yet to rebuy it. I haven't been able to really find it like anywhere, and I would love to get it again, just for nostalgic sake, because I can't really hook up a 2600 to any of these, and most of the collections don't have it on it, and it's haunted house. So I would play it. You're a pair of eyes going through a house, and you're trying to avoid getting hit by ghosts and witches and werewolves and monsters, and you're just going through. You're just going through trying to survive. And that to me was so much fun playing with my mom, especially since she's not with us anymore. I really think that was a great experience for me. Now what I want to do is I am going to show every episode that I do. So I want to show like a couple things really cool that I have in my collection. And this time I have two things I'm going to show. They're actually on the shelf right here. So it will just be a second. I have a lot of stuff. Live in a small room, lots of stuff. I always get to hear about it. There we go. So first off, what I want to show you is this. I got this off Amazon a while ago. So it is the actual mini comic collection for He-Man. And if you read this, it's almost a completely different story than what it was originally. Like, especially the early stuff in here. And that to me was something really cool. It was like $30 online. And I really loved it and thought it was a really cool thing to have. Now, the next thing I'm going to show is something my fiance got me for Christmas, and I love it. Now, it's not the whole thing. It's only volume 1, but it is the Marvel Universe A to Z. So what this is, and the reason I love it is because when I was in high school, like, it didn't look like this. It was like the size, so this is all your characters, A to Z, but it's only volume 1. Is when I was in high school, I used to check out these books all the time. That was the Marvel A to Z, and it was super thick, and there was no pictures, but I would read and read and read, and it gives you, like, character bios, where they came from, everything for superhero-wise. And I loved Marvel Comics, and that's the one thing I really didn't get a lot when I was a kid. Like, we would get comics from the dollar store, so I would get your Image Comics, or Vertigo, or Dark Horse, stuff like that. But I wouldn't get Marvel or DC. Unless I would go to the library and we would check it out there. And that was something really cool. That was just now those are some stuff I just wanted to show off. Because I am now I'm not just a gamer. I love fantasy, sci-fi, superheroes. On my wrist, I have horror movie tattoos. I really love a little bit of everything. So every episode, I think I'm going to show you guys some really cool stuff I have. Now, the last topic I really want to talk about is fucking reboots. Now, over the past couple years, I've seen reboot this, reboot this, reboot this. Like, they're going to reboot Child's Play, apparently, Gremlins, another Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. They're rebooting Watchmen for an HBO series. Now, what I would say is reboot something that was not successful. Like, reboot something that people are obscure to, like Crawl would be obscure. Make something good. Like, reboot some of those slasher films from the 80s, which there's 50,000 of them, that weren't successful, didn't do well. Like Hobgoblins. Or if it was up to me, horror-wise, I would have somebody but finally make a sequel to Demons, to Night of the Demons 2. So you could have a true blue sequel, and that would be fucking awesome. Because there's never been a sequel. There's been a comic that was a sequel, but that would be really good. My cat's fucking with shit. So, this has been episode 2, and apparently Sage wants to get on camera. Alright, everybody, this is Sage. Sage, say hi. Look, say hi. Weird cat. This is like one of the weirdest cats ever. Alright, so this has been Crazyherorise, episode 2. I will see you guys next Wednesday for episode 3. Even though I actually think today's Thursday. Okay, so I'm a day late. But yesterday was 4th of July. Happy belated 4th of July. And I will talk to you guys all later.